Hello, welcome everyone to episode 6 of StellaVision. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. My name is Anthony Vespucci. I am the Senior Vice President of Retail and Business Services here at Stella Rising. Really working with brands, myself and my team, very much in the e-commerce space, helping them through especially the times we're in right now. And then also working with some business brands from a lead generation perspective is really our area of specialties. I'm joined today by Tatiana Bertolo, our Agency Development Manager at Google. I'll let Tati say hi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, Tati. So through this, Tatiana's going to be taking through some of the things, trends that Google's seeing from a category perspective on the heels of everything related to COVID, as well as sharing some, really fantastic Google tools that are available for both brands and agencies during this, this time. And on the heels of that, I'm actually just going to kick things off by sharing an example of one of the really, really great Google tools that are out there that myself and our teams were really using to help guide our brands during this time. Before I do that, just a reminder, everybody, you can type in some questions into the chat panel on the right-hand side of the page. And at the end of this, we'll be kind of going through those. Great. So without further ado, I'll just kind of jump right into something, a really great Google tool that we've been utilizing on our side. So the tool is Google Trends. And so as everybody would imagine, going back to March, when really coronavirus at the time, now obviously, of course, everybody referring to it as COVID-19 really took a hold. A lot of our brands were asking us and really trying to gauge, obviously everybody was struggling a bit during that March timeframe. But how did they compare to others, either within their industry, within the landscape? How categorical was some of their dips that they were seeing as a comparison to this? So one of the things that we were really doing and trying to help our brands understand in real time is really when did this kind of take a hold, and when did this search volume really become what it is today, or what it really showed out to be in March. And so obviously early on in March is when everybody was still very much referring to this as coronavirus, before the official COVID-19 name became, universally accepted. And so what we were doing and kind of looking at with our brands within Google Trends is, okay, what is the search activity in and around coronavirus? What did that look like in March? When did this start of kind of take a hold? And kind of see some of that things trending. So the graph that you're seeing there on the left-hand side of the page, this was pulled at the end of March as we were doing kind of concluding our March reporting for our brands. It's really looking at from January 1st up and through March 26th, what did search interest in and around coronavirus look like? And what you're kind of seeing and what we've kind of emphasized with that line there is really in March is when this really took hold. And really kind of peaked. That peak that you're seeing there really occurred right around this March 11th, March 12th timeframe. This is when I think, if you will, full U.S. adoption of coronavirus is very real, and folks really educating themselves about the virus, symptoms, what to be aware of, what to be mindful of, what does it mean, who's affected. All of those searches really kind of took a hold and kind of, mass adoption right around March 11th and 12th. And then what we have on the right-hand side of the page, and this is something that we trended for all of our brands for the March reporting timeframe, is, okay, how is your brand impacted, and what did some of those decreases look like when this coronavirus, the pandemic and the search volume and around it really take a hold? And one of the things that obviously, as you would imagine, we really looked at this from a brand search interest perspective. Categories go through ups and downs. Here at Stella Rising, we specialize in everything from beauty, CPG, retail, again, with myself and my team. And so there's always, trends from that regard. However, branded search queries, so somebody looking for something like Nike as an example, those are something that stay pretty consistent over time outside of, a major, piece in the New York Times or something like that talking about a brand. Brand interest doesn't tend to fluctuate too much. And so looking at when their brand interest kind of decreased and really seeing this March 11th, March 12th date be consistent across basically every single brand across the Stella portfolio, it helped us kind of explain some of that to our clients. And also be able to trend, whether it's, similar like-minded brands, of course, without sharing that data specifically, But okay, what did that decrease for your brand look like versus others versus other industries? It really helped paint a little bit, clearer of a picture for some of our brands that we're going through this time. So really something that we were talking about in that March timeframe. Fast forward, and about a week and a half ago, I was checking out Wired, and sure enough, they did a write-up. We have that timestamp there right in the middle of the page on April 24th. And what Wired basically was doing an article about, at the end of April, was saying, March 11th was the day everything changed. And so for us, the team at Stella, this was really validation that, some of the things that we were seeing in real time with the, amazing Google tool suite and something like Google Trends, and kind of what we were talking to our clients about at the end of March and really that first week of April, it's something that held true, and now something that's kind of being documented as the day everything changed. So certainly validation of, a fantastic real-time tool and what it can see kind of coming out of it. And just one more slide before I kind of kick it over to Tati. Now, obviously, a lot of people have accepted this new norm that we're all living in. We'll be in for, probably at minimum the next 30 days, possibly longer than that. And so what we've really seen across our greater, client portfolio is as people have really accepted this new norm, and on the left-hand side of that page there, grabbing the very next date of March 27th through earlier this week, as some of the interest and the search volume, and if you will, the frenzy of search queries in and around coronavirus and COVID have begun to die down, people have accepted this new normal. We have another trending graph on the right-hand side of the page there. What we're really showing there is we're starting to see some of our brands pick back up. I would say it's a healthy mix of some brands, that have now already returned to pre-COVID levels. And others definitely kind of reached that, breaking point from a bottoming perspective, and are now starting to climb back up and kind of make up ground. So again, I think, from our perspective, the Google Trends tool was great at showing some of that adoption, showing some of that interest in real time, and now how our brands have really bounced back. So a phenomenal tool out there for all. With that, I'll turn it over to Tati to kind of go through some of the greater Google tool suite and some of the category trends that she's seeing.
Thank you, Anthony. So if you move on to the next slide, one of the first things that I wanted to talk to you all about was our Google for Small Business Hub. We did this in response to COVID. There was a lot of information. It was a really uncertain time, especially in March when things were really taking off. So we created this hub really to give customers and agencies more information as to how they should be thinking about communicating to not only their employees, but their customers. And so here's a picture of Google My Business, just as an example of how to keep your customers informed, making sure you're updating your store hours, letting people know, if you have a delivery service, etc. One of the main things about this hub is that you'll find a lot of announcements, such as the Google Ad Credit announcement that just came out recently. There's also new announcements on our shopping feed, which I'll get into in a little bit. But it's really important just to take a look at this hub. You can subscribe to our Think with Google page, but there's a lot of great information as to how to adapt to your advertising, how to look at your audiences, and really analyzing how that customer behavior has changed. Even, it changes day to day. So it's really important to make sure that you have the fundamentals in place for your business and that you're communicating constantly to your customers. Next slide. So here's, as part of the hub, we have a lot of different external facing tools. The ones that are highlighted in red there, I'll be going into a little bit more depth, but I also want to emphasize the other parts or the other tools that you see here. For example, Test My Site, another fundamental where you have to constantly check your mobile site speeds. Another one is Market Finder. So this is a tool that you can use to see if there's any interest outside of the US. So there's tons of export markets, and this is a great tool to see, where that intent is coming from and from what geolocation. Last but not least, Advance Your Measurement. This is one of our tools that we've put together with Bain. And again, it comes down to the fundamentals, making sure that you're tracking everything properly, you're tagging everything. I mean, this is the time, if you do have time, to really kind of take a take a step back and make sure that everything is tagging or that you're tagging everything properly. And you can compare yourself to your competitors. You can get a personalized assessment as well. So these are all great external tools that you can take a look at. So Google Trends, I'm glad that Anthony brought up Google Trends, because this is one of the first tools that we were using even with our agencies and clients. So this is real-time data. As you saw, we looked at the COVID response and how it affects brand searches. You can also see how it affects non-brand searches. We have a coronavirus microsite that was also created, which provides helpful information from a health aspect. But the great thing about Google Trends is that you can not only take a look at search trends, but you can take a look at YouTube search trends. You can see how trends or how queries are being affected on our shopping site. You can compare that over time, whether it's 12 months, a week, 30 days. And you can also compare terms. You can compare those popular terms. So I highly recommend using this on a week-to-week basis, just to see how certain terms are being affected for your business, whether it's brand or non-brand. Here's a quick example of just two simple words, cooking and gardening, which are trends or queries that we've seen sort of trending upwards, especially on the cooking at home or the gardening at home type queries. So here you're seeing related terms that are sort of trending upwards. You'll see declining search terms. You'll see ones that are sort of sustained. So again, a lot of this information, we're all receiving a ton of information. It's just how are you using that information to adjust your advertising and speak to your customers. Next slide. This is one of the newer tools. It's about finding your audience, and if YouTube is part of your plan, at the end of the day, communicating to your customers and being able to change your creative. YouTube is the second most visited site right now. So if YouTube is part of your marketing plan, this is a great tool to understand who's your audience when it comes to in-market audiences and when it comes to affinity audiences. So I've shown you an example here of an audience where we're looking at ones that are in market for skincare products. So again, we have affinity audiences, which are like the beauty mavens, and then you want to take it another step or another deeper level, and we want to see ones that are interested in skincare. And skincare is actually one of the top trending categories within the beauty industry, especially within the last month. So here you'll see just a quick snapshot of these are the type of YouTube channels that people are shopping for when it comes to skincare. So these are the people that they're viewing. And here are some related products other than just skincare products. So this is just a quick snapshot, but again, understanding your audience, not just on the YouTube side, but making sure you're also looking at Google Analytics. I think we need to make sure that we're looking at those audience reports and really understand, what channels are they coming from, and what are their interests, what are their behaviors on your site, because that will inform how you can change your marketing. A quick update on the audience slide there. We actually just came out with a couple new in-market audiences, and that includes food delivery and curbside pickup. So again, things are changing on our end as we see people responding to COVID and how they're changing their habits. So we want to take, as a business, if you do have a business that tends to deliver food, now there's an in-market audience that you can target to. Shopping insights, that's part of our Think with Google page. This is essentially ones that I know there's a lot of people on the line that have a strong e-com presence, and Google Trends is sort of the high level microsite or tool that you can use. And then underneath that, if you are focused on shopping and you're in that world, this is a great tool that you can use, not just for comparing search terms, or you can compare branded terms. You can filter for dates, for the type of shopping season. If you want to look at how mobile and desktop are being used, as well as comparing to competitors. So this is another great site, again, if you're in that e-com world. And then last but not least, this just came out this week. These are the rising retail categories. This is a tool, or the data that's coming out of this was being asked and really being requested. And so now if you're in that retail space, you can get a deeper understanding of, what are the rising retail categories? How does it compare to competitors? Where is that volume coming from? You can see swimming pools in this example, and you can use the different filtering mechanisms there. But again, at the end of the day, these are great tools to use. We work with Stella a lot on providing sort of deeper analysis using some of our internal tools, but we do that at an account by account basis. But these are just great tools to use so that it can help inform your marketing strategy. And then in terms of messaging ideas, this is what we're seeing based on consumer trends. Nothing too surprising here, but I just think it's important to emphasize that it's critical to be helpful and to really show your customers and your employees how you're being helpful during these uncertain times. So I think Patagonia just comes to mind in terms of how a business is really keeping their customers informed. As soon as you go to the site, you understand their mission, you understand some of their pillars and what they're trying to do to respond to COVID. In terms of going through your shopping cart experience, making sure that everything is efficient and the UX experience is as seamless as possible. Forging new communities, that's through social media channels, through content creators, through influencers. There's a lot of different ways that you can connect with your customers to see what is the sentiment and how can you continue to keep that communication flowing. Adjusting the timing for 24/7 cycle, as we all know, you want to understand, and I kind of go back to your audience insights and looking at your Google Analytics to really understand when are your customers or your prospects searching for you or trying to get more information about your industry. Another good thing to know here is that you can set up a Google alert for certain keywords and things that really relate to your brand, because as they come up, you'll receive a Google alert and you'll understand what is the sentiment and what's going on, what's being said about me or the industry. Going big on promoting heroes, can't emphasize that enough. It's important to recognize our first responders, and if you put that as part of your messaging, I think that's a great idea. And then last but not least, if you have time to be creative and maybe do a refresh on your creative messaging, I think this is the time to do it, and it'll really go a long way because your customers will see that.
Fantastic. Excellent. Great stuff, Tati. So that's so helpful. So I see some questions kind of coming in. So I think in the last couple of minutes, we'll just kind of run through some questions that we're seeing for Tati. So I'll just kind of comb through. I saw this one already. I think this is a good one. How are you, Tati, at Google approaching SMB support?
Yeah, so as you know, we work really closely with you, Stella. We've had a great relationship, and at the end of the day, it's about supporting not just the agency business, but the end client business. And so what we're doing is really leading with empathy, I think is the best way when it comes to communication. That's something that has resonated internally, and we're also trying to lead with empathy, really understanding, what are the end clients' pain points, what are they going through as a result of COVID right now. So we're kind of bucketing end clients into 3 or 4 different categories. One, of course, there are some industries that are seeing an uptick and an increase in demand. We've seen other ones that are sort of assessing the situation and really pivoting and shifting their strategies. Maybe they're moving from instead of driving in store, now they're driving everything to their e-com business, right, or directly to their site. And then we see other ones that are sort of bucketed into sort of COVID red, right, where they're seeing a decrease in demand. And at that point, it's just how do we help them keep the lights on? And we've seen that obviously in travel as an example. But at the end of the day, it's communicating with our customers, trying to understand what is the business objective and how has that business objective changed because of COVID. Maybe they had plans to sell X number of units this year. Well, maybe we're going to have to shift that number and then shift the marketing strategy behind that. And so, we look at marketing objectives, increasing leads, high quality leads, of course, increasing sales, or maybe there's just an awareness or branding objective. And so it's really understanding how those marketing objectives are shifting, and then how does that shift the overall business objective so that we can ultimately, meet that goal.
Great. I think this is another good one. I know something that we've seen, that we've been tracking. And I know you kind of touch upon it as well, Tati, is just, with more people at home, there's more consumption of things like video and things of that nature. Maybe for the audience, what are some trends you're seeing that are been occurring on YouTube as of late?
So I think I mentioned this before, but YouTube is the #2 most visited site behind Google search. And we've seen a surge of #WithMe or #@home, which is actually pretty interesting, because now we're able to, through custom intent campaigns, you're able to target users who have used that hashtag. So that's something kind of a bit new and the new sort of tactic that companies have been using. But at the end of the day, YouTube is still part of that full funnel marketing strategy. And YouTube before was seen as a branding type product, but it's also a performance driven product with YouTube for Action. So there's a lot of different ways, I think, internally where we've been helping agencies and small businesses. One of the biggest hurdles is creating or getting that asset, getting that video creative for the first time. So we have tools such as Video Builder, Bumper Machine, and then we have our own internal creative services team. Because of our partnership with Stella, you all have access to this team who can create videos for free using static images or even editing existing B-roll. So I think YouTube is a great way to connect with your customers, through music, through speaking, and it's very visual, obviously. So I think it's a great way, and our customers have really kind of turned to YouTube as another great channel.
Yeah, that's great. So I think we're getting close on time, and I think one final one. I know obviously at Stella we do a ton of work within the beauty industry. I know Tati, you and your team, are so helpful and informative for our team as we work through that. So another one, maybe just trending. What are you seeing specifically within beauty as of late? Any kind of trending things you could share with the audience?
Yeah, I would say there's been a huge uptick in April, which is really exciting. And I know you have a lot of clients in this vertical, but we've seen an uptick with like facial cleansers, face lotions, makeup brushes, hair color has been huge. And so people are just craving content that speaks to spa-like services or in-home treatments for their skincare or to help with fatigue and stress. At the end of the day, we're seeing searches increase overall from mobile, but we've seen actually a really big, most searches are coming from mobile, but we're still seeing an increase in desktop, obviously, because we're at home more. So I think it's just important to to stay up to date with those beauty trends, really understand kind of how your product is fits in the overall market as it responds to COVID. And even with the Google Shopping ads, I think with that recent announcement, now we have free product listings similar to our organic search results and the paid listings on the search page. We have the same thing now for shopping. So your brands can be a lot more discoverable with this new announcement. And I think at the end of the day, staying top of mind, I think with where we've seen from past recessions and we've learned from past recessions, it's important to increase or not increase, but not decrease your marketing investment if you don't have to. Having that share of voice as competitors kind of maybe take a step back, this is your time to really capitalize. And 1 of 3 people are turning or looking to buy a new brand, right? And a lot of it is based on how they're responding to COVID and the type of creative messaging that they're putting out there.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tati. I think this was super informative. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for this week of StellaVision. Hopefully you really found it very helpful. I know we love working with Tatiana and her team at Google. It's really great seeing a lot of this data in real time and working through this, something that we're doing across our brand. So thank you all so much for joining us. Please feel free to reach out. Stella, we're here to help guide you through these times as well. Something that we're doing around active conversations with our brands, and we have calls with Tati and her team with our brands. So it's a really great partnership. We'd love to talk to each of you about how we can help guide you through some of these times, especially during COVID. So thank you everyone for joining. And please remember, tune in next week at 11 o'clock for our next StellaVision. So thank you all. Thank you, Tati.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Bye.